Common myths about healing heartache that keep you from letting go and moving on. I'm Ben Ufana. And once again, I'm completing another article as I do week by week. And I've included so much detail in this article. And like so many journalists, academics that have such a depth of information to present, I will be reading through this article because it's the only way that I could remember all the important details that I want to share here. So let's dive into it. Heartbreak is a spiritual, emotional, cognitive, and physiological crisis, and one of the most painful and disorienting experiences most of us will ever go through. When we lose someone we loved deeply, or even someone that we formed a strong attachment to, it can feel like the ground has fallen out from beneath us. We experience a visceral sense of raw emotional vulnerability, so much so that our entire body aches. It's as if any existing sense of identity, security, and emotional well being has unraveled all at once. And in those moments of insecurity, uncertainty, and at times torment, we just want relief from the anxiety of not knowing. And more than anything, we want the pain to stop. We're desperately trying to make sense of what happened, grasping for answers, for some sense of control. And out of desperation, we try to hold on to the person we love, searching for any way to fix what's broken, to somehow make the relationship work. Unfortunately, so much of what we're told about healing heartbreak is based on cultural myths, or more accurately, misunderstandings. Banal platitudes, often uttered by well meaning friends and family members, only add to our confusion. They minimize our pain, deny our hurt, and certainly do not help with our healing. What often happens is the pain lies dormant within us. And over time, it could have a numbing or desensitizing effect, creating walls and barriers that diminish our capacity to love and to let others love us. And these barriers not only keep us disconnected from ourselves, but they block our ability to attract and connect with someone with whom we could actually form a loving, intimate bond. When that pain remains unprocessed, it tends to play out as a series of painful reenactments, drawing us into relationships or situations that evoke many of the same old unresolved emotions. And sometimes the emotions we haven't been able to fully digest keep us fixated on the very person who rejected or abandoned us, trapping us in a loop we don't know how to break. So, in this video, we're going to be deconstructing some of the most common myths one by one about healing and heartbreak and get honest about what real healing actually takes. We've heard so many times that time heals all wounds. And for some, that may sound comforting, but the reality is time doesn't heal. As time passes, the sadness, hurt, anger, and other distressing emotions we haven't thoroughly processed may diminish in intensity. But just because the pain dulls doesn't mean the deeply wounded parts of us have healed. More often than not, those parts of us simply go into a numbed or deadened state. When emotions remain trapped in the body, they don't just sit there quietly. They continue to shape our perceptions and emotional responses. All of this happens outside of our conscious awareness, beneath the surface, and yet it profoundly influences the kind of people we attract and the dynamics we end up recreating. We find ourselves reenacting the same painful dramas in future relationships, or we end up building protective walls around ourselves, barriers that diminish our ability to love and be loved in return. I've worked with countless individuals who were still carrying heartbreak from years or even decades earlier. They were never able to digest the devastating losses they had suffered or the emotions attached to them. The sadness, grief, anger, the feelings of loss and betrayal We're very much there, sometimes raw and intense, sometimes numbed, and often stuck in a kind of putrid mix because they've been buried in the body for so long. If you're not actively working with your authentic emotional responses, feeling it, processing it, learning from it, it doesn't go anywhere. It just gets buried deeper in your system where it turns into chronic tension, emotional numbness, or physical illness. Naturally, we feel a need for closure. Parts of us continue to hold on, hoping for some sense of resolution that often never comes. If we could open up and share what we're truly thinking and feeling, maybe it would ease the hurt. Maybe I'd feel some sense of completion and would finally be able to let go and move on. The problem is, it often doesn't work that way. We may find ourselves seeking closure from someone who is either unwilling or simply unable to give it to us. And in many cases, what we call closure is actually a disguised hope, a longing to feel close to them again, to be seen, to be acknowledged, and to receive some kind of approval or validation. As much as we may yearn to reconnect with what we once had, or for some final moment of resolution, is probably not going to come from them. And even if it did, the truth is, there's nothing they could say or do to make it right. What's left is ours to carry. It's up to us to acknowledge and grieve the loss, to work our way through that painfully empty void, the one their absence left behind. We're left sitting with the reality that the future we once envisioned together is no longer. The moments we hope to share won't happen. There may be things we wish we said or done differently. And now we're left with this convoluted tangle of unresolved feelings and unspoken words and emotional fragments that have nowhere to land. It hurts, and there's no way around it. The only way out is through. And even though it can feel horribly unsettling at times, the act of embracing our loss is what ultimately moves us toward a deeper connection with ourselves and others in ways that are far healthier and far more real. Most of us at some point have had someone say to us, "You just have to let go." Letting go sounds like something you could just decide to do, like flipping a switch, and suddenly everything's cool. Now I'm free to move on. But in real life, it's rarely that simple. You can't just shut it off and stop caring about someone you were deeply connected to. And trying to force yourself to let go before you actually work through all those emotions can backfire. It creates shame. Why am I still hurting? Why can't I stop thinking about this person? And the shame could easily turn inward and become something far more damaging, as in, there must be something truly wrong with me. It's important to understand you don't have to stop caring to heal. What needs to shift is the nature of your relationship with this person, to the role they played in your life, the meaning you attach to the connection, and the context in which you related to them. Even if they were once an important part of your life, things have changed. Life is moving on, and they're no longer in the picture, or at least not in the same way. And now you're stepping into a new chapter and perhaps an entirely new reality. Healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about reclaiming and reintegrating the parts of yourself that have become entangled in that relationship and the emotional charge it carried. This is a time to come back to yourself, to feel the aloneness, not as something to escape, but as something to explore, to begin seeing into that deeper inner presence that may have gotten buried when so much of your time, effort, and focus and identity revolved around this other person. We're constantly fed the myth that life is about finding the one, that special someone who's supposed to fulfill our needs and somehow complete us. And while those moments of deep connection are very real, This is a crucial time to reconnect with you, your thoughts, your sensations, your longing, and your grief. It's a time to allow yourself to feel the full range of what's moving through you, to reconnect with the parts of your authentic self that may have been lost in the dynamic of the relationship. Another common misconception is this idea that you have to jump into something new in order to move on. When you consider that we're living in a culture of distraction, where all you have to do is swipe to escape the pain, the loneliness, and longing. Amid the uncertainty of a devastating loss, it's so easy to go on Tinder or some other dating app and captivated by the seemingly endless selection. You go on a few dates, maybe you even hook up just to feel something, anything other than the grief or emptiness. And for a moment, it seems to work. Maybe you find this new person attractive, you feel desired, and being physically intimate gives you a fleeting sense of connection. But more often than not, it just adds to the confusion because underneath it all, you're still hurting, deeply attached to the person you loved, and still longing for what you had. And no amount of swiping or momentary pleasure is going to alleviate the depth of your loss. Instead of allowing yourself to truly grieve the loss and sit with your emptiness, you latch on to someone new, hoping it will fill the void. But eventually, it all catches up. The grief, the unmet needs, the unresolved issues and conflicted emotions from your last relationship, they resurface. And if you jumped into something new, chances are they'll start playing out in this new relationship. That's why it's so critically important to give yourself time, time to be with yourself, time to feel the full range of your emotions, to reflect, to grieve, to digest your connection with this person you're no longer with, and everything that came with it before opening your heart and being intimate with someone new. Most of us were never taught how to work effectively with our emotions, which isn't at all surprising considering we live in a culture that denies suffering and avoids emotional discomfort at all cost. One of our biggest misconceptions about healing is the belief that if we're still grieving, we're not healing. But the truth is, the presence of sadness, longing, and other distressing emotions doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you're human. You cannot heal what you don't feel. Give yourself permission to fully feel, knowing that this is a necessary part of the healing process. Even when your heart aches and you still miss this person you've lost, stay with the experience of loss as fully as you can. Bring your full awareness to the feelings and bodily sensations that arise, and breathe from the depths of these feelings and sensations. Because when you breathe from the depths of your emotions, you're activating the innate healing intelligence that resides within your body and mind. Over time, the intensity of the sadness and grief will diminish. As this happens, both your lived experiences and your emotional responses are being transformed into fuel for growth. This kind of inner work not only facilitates the healing of the deep emotional wounds, it also opens your heart in a way that expands your capacity to love and to be loved. Lacking the understanding of our bodies and minds and its innate healing processes, so many of us mistakenly assume that we could think our way through the heartbreak. And in response to a painful breakup or being ghosted or having someone we care about suddenly pull away, our entire system can go into kind of shock. Cravings take over as dopamine drives us to seek that sense of connection again. Stress and anxiety surge as cortisol floods the body. At times, we feel emotional and even physical pain as the oxytocin and vasopressin that once bonded us to this person abruptly drop. Serotonin levels also drop. while emotional arousal remains high, setting off obsessive looping thoughts. We find ourselves replaying every conversation, analyzing every word and gesture, and talking to anyone who will listen, desperately trying to make sense of what happened. We just want clarity and we want the pain to stop. It's natural to seek a cognitive understanding, to try to create a cohesive narrative of something that feels chaotic and unresolved. But the painful emotions combined with all the fluctuations in our neurochemistry fuel irrational thoughts and at times desperation. We spin in our heads because we want answers, we want relief, and we want a way out of the pain. But the truth is, you're not going to think your way out of it. One of the most important things you can do in these moments is to accept the lack of closure, the not knowing. And when your mind starts spinning again, as it invariably will, ask yourself, what are the deepest feelings underneath all this? And then breathe softly while fully immersing your awareness in the depths of any feelings or sensations that arise. Yes, you'll definitely get pulled back into your head, and it will probably happen a lot. When it does, return your awareness to your body and emotional experience again and again. As you stay with the tangle of grief, longing, confusion, and anger, and become more present in your body, your mind will gradually begin to settle. In time, you'll find more ease, a sense of acceptance, and eventually deeper insight and understanding. One of the measures of success so often propagated in our society is the idea of finding that special someone. For many, the ultimate goal is to be happily married with children. We're constantly bombarded with messages that suggest that if our relationships haven't led to this outcome, we've somehow failed. But it brings to mind the words of the ancient Greek philosopher Pythagoras: custom and nature do not agree, for the many formed custom without understanding nature. The truth is, there are no guarantees. We may not find love in the way we hoped, or we may find it only to lose it. Even so, we have basic human needs for connection, intimacy, and belonging that so often go unmet. We form attachments, and when those bonds break or relationships don't unfold the way we imagined, we're left sitting with feelings of grief, sadness, longing, and sometimes despair. If you're hurting, it means you loved. It means you felt deeply. And that's nothing to be ashamed of. It's an essential part of being human. It doesn't mean you failed. Healing isn't about denying what happened or rushing to feel better. And even though it may not look the way you wanted it to, it's so important to embrace your lived experience for what it is, to feel your authentic emotional response fully, to breathe into it, and to make use of the most effective practices and therapeutic interventions to support your process. This is the work. This is the path. And it's through this process of facing your pain, digesting your lived experience, and showing up for yourself again and again that real healing and growth take place. Healing is a gradual unfolding. Let it be what it is. In closing, I want to thank you for joining me and taking time to listen. And having trained with a traditional Native American doctor, an actual medicine man from the Kiowa tribe, and going through so many vision quests, I'm able to work as a conduit. And this is typical for those traditional Native American doctors, healers of other ancient traditions in various parts of the world. We allow an extraordinarily powerful presence to work through us to facilitate healing within the body and mind. So, if you're in the midst of a devastating breakup or some other heartrending drama, this presence can help you to fully digest your experiences, along with the grief and sadness and all the other emotions held within your body, so that your heart can heal and so that you can build resilience and also to increase your capacity to truly love and to be loved. Reach out to schedule a session at 332 333 5155.